up ahead. Affirmative 612.
Time for another edition of the Wealthy Pilots Podcast with Scott Osborn. And Scott, the golden handcuffs, my friend, when high income starts destroying your freedom. Or even like I was thinking like the $6 Million Man. I used to love that TV show growing up. And it was kind of like, just because you make a lot of money, you might be like a $5 million pilot, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're like set for retirement, right? And the golden handcuffs can be kind of a trap a little bit. So we're going to talk about that this week. How you doing? You doing all right?
Yeah, doing good, man. And this topic I think is an important one. It kind of piggybacks of what we talked about a few weeks ago in terms of contingency planning and making sure that we don't fall in love with the good times too much.
Right. To quote the Cars, let the good times roll is great, but
Well, I think back to 2008, very tough time for a lot of people. And I was pretty new in my career. I was, out of college just a few years, and I think my 401k probably went from $40,000 to $20,000. But whatever. That's
young enough. You didn't care. Yeah,
that feels a lot different when it goes from 4 million to 2 million. Even though
you're 60. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And so, but to me, I think setting aside the fact that hey, there's probably going to be some sort of storm that comes at us eventually. I mean, it's probably not going to be a year over year over year growth, in perpetuity the rest of our lives. I would love that. I hope that is the case, but
right.
Probably not prudent to plan like that. But to me, I think it kind of piggybacking and dovetailing into that discussion would be what happens, like the golden handcuffs. And this is something I see a lot when I'm talking to some of our senior guys. They get very accustomed to, and their family gets very accustomed to a certain expectation for income and lifestyle.
Yeah. I mean, you got the expensive house or the lake house or a boat or, so on and so forth, right?
So all the fun stuff.
It's a choice.
For sure.
Yeah.
And, when you work hard, you should enjoy the fruits of your labor for sure.
Absolutely.
I'm not trying to be fun police, but,
right.
There's a tension to be managed there of like making sure we're still saving for the long term and saving enough and that we're managing our lifestyle as we go. And what I mean is if I'm getting a good income and there's a balance of I need to save enough that as what I'm saving, it continues to grow and it's going to grow and keep up with my growing lifestyle. Okay. And again, if I'm saving enough to fund a $200,000 lifestyle and I just keep saving that, and then my income grows to 200, then to 250, then to 300, then to 400. And I've only ever kept saving to fund this $200,000 lifestyle. We are, again, even if everything goes well and you never have to take a pay cut and you get all the way to 65 and that's all good. Yeah. First off, you're setting yourself up for some disappointment in retirement. So we want to be conscious of that. So there's a kind of a psychological part to this too, that we want to make sure that our target retirement income is staying on track with our lifestyle currently. Right. I've not met one person who at 65 said, hey, we're living off of 300 grand a year right now. And we're completely prepared to live off 100 grand a year starting next year. And that's our goal.
Right.
And, that is a reality that some people have to face.
Scott,
true too, right? Where somebody's living off 100 grand a year, they're super conservative and they got $6 million saved up and they're like, you're like, hey man, you can spend a lot more too. That happens as well.
Well, I was going to say that to me, that makes me think of the we make too much to worry mindset. Kind of like, we often hear, the markets aren't good or the economy's not good, but we're too big to fail, right? At this point, the U.S. is too big to fail, so I'm not going to worry. And the same thing can be applied personally. We're doing too well. I'm not going to worry about it. And it's like, be careful.
Again, back to that psychological part. This is like we put a man on the moon and it ruined everything for everybody, right? Hey, we can put a man on the moon, but we can't build make a water bottle that opens without leaking or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's like that's right. Like the standard by which all things are held to. It's a little bit like that with income sometimes. We make too much money to be worrying about, dealing with XYZ or not going on this trip.
It's not going to hurt me to buy a new 4-wheeler or camera or, whatever. Yeah.
And so, to me, I think where it starts to create issues is just that lifestyle creep, right? We talked about this a little bit ago too, right? Hey, if I can have that first officer lifestyle and a captain pay, That's a good standard. The minimum standard I would say is like, hey, try to keep your lifestyle in check with your base pay.
Right.
If you can do that, and then you're funding a little bit of overtime here and there. It reminds me of a friend of mine who was a ER doc, and his fix for just about everything financially was, I'll just pick up some extra shifts. And when you're working nights with babies at home, that's tough, man. Yeah, you can go work an extra shift here or there and maybe an extra 2 or 4 during the month to fund that next purchase or that next vacation or whatever. You know, that can get a little addictive, but it's not necessarily the healthiest, right? I mean,
well, it's not it's a Band-Aid. It's not the fix.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now there's going to be times, you know, I got a handful of buddies here locally for sure that are out of DTW, and they're, you know, I'll have a tea time with one of them and I'll hear, hey man, Delta made me an offer I can't refuse. I got to go. So there's times where, yeah, you know, you go take a trip and make all the extra money and all that. That's great. But, you know, some of that can come and go based off of staffing needs, training needs, what's going on with the economy and whatever the case is. So, you know, the airlines are all a little bit different there, but the key point is trying to keep our lifestyle, that like manage the tension between my income, my savings for the future, and my lifestyle, right? We don't want any of those to get too out of balance. I don't want you over saving where you're not enjoying today.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you under saving where you're like, hey, YOLO, you only live once and I'm going to enjoy it every second I can. I'll deal with retirement later. I would say that's probably not a good plan.
Right.
And again, the income, we can control that to an extent, right? I can pick up extras. I can do that. There's sacrifice that comes from that. You're missing kid events. You're probably sacrificing some health here or there. And so there's aspects to that there's a tension there to manage. And I think if you have a good plan and a good vision with a little bit of data that says, hey, as long as we're saving X, we're going to get to roughly this range of assets, you know, based off of what history tells us that the market's going to give us. Mm-hmm. And if we know the tax distribution of those assets, it's going to manifest in roughly X amount of monthly income. Well, if that X amount of monthly income is in line with what you're kind of needing now, that should give you some good feelings about, hey, our lifestyle is in check with our plan.
Yeah, makes sense.
I'm telling you, it frequently isn't, right? I mean, if you're borrowing from your home equity line of credit to pay bills every now and then because some trips got canceled, if you're borrowing from your 401k because you got to pay a mortgage on a lake house or something, those are like some of the flashing alerts from you that, hey, we probably got some right sizing in our lifestyle.
Oh yeah. You know, and so I was sitting there thinking about the golden handcuffs, right? So you've got this lifestyle, the lifestyle creep is happening. You're kind of getting things out of control, but you have that, you know, you're kind of fooling yourself into thinking you're always going to be fine. And then the suddenly happens, whatever the suddenly is, right? Merger uncertainties, Spirit Airlines, right? Medical issues, divorce, right? I mean, senior or gray divorces, right, is the highest growing divorce rate in the country. And that's people over 50.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's, life is imperfect, sadly. And
now you really are handcuffed, right? Because now everything gets altered.
Well, and again, if you want to work to 65, there's many guys that'll start out and they'll say, hey, I want to try to get out maybe a little bit before 60. But then by the time they get there, they're like, hey, I mean, I'm working less than I've ever worked. I'm making more than I've ever made. I still enjoy it. I love what I do. What else am I going to do with my time? I'm going to keep flying. Mm-hmm. If you want to work till 65 because you want to, that's fine. But there's definitely folks out there. And I'd say, again, don't procrastinate. The sooner you deal with these issues, the better off you're going to be. And the more, you know, math and data you can get to kind of support your decision-making, you're going to make better decisions, and it's going to give you some conviction around why you need to make some changes. But ultimately, what you don't want to do is say, hey, I got to keep working to 65 just to do all I can to make as much as I can and pay off everything. You know, that adds a lot of stress and pressure that really need to be there unless you're making chronically bad decisions along the way, which include overspending, undersaving, being wasteful with your money, making bad investment decisions. You know, there's a lot of things that we do. Like if we just avoid mistakes, you don't even have to do the perfect things. I mean, so much of this financial success is not about doing things perfect. I don't think there's any way to do things perfect. If I could do it perfect, we would have bought NVIDIA at $50 a share with, you know, every single piece of right had. So there's no way to do it perfect because we always have hindsight saying we could have done something better. But man, if we can avoid things And there's just a huge list of things to avoid, right?
Yeah, for
if I
sure.
can manage my lifestyle and not count on overtime or do this and not carry credit card bills at 25% interest. Again, if there's things like that going on, that should be kind of that shot across the bow to say, hey, I got to take a look at some things here and I got to right size this now. And it's going to do nothing but help you when you transition into retirement, and whatever retirement income your savings and investments are on track to deliver for you.
Yeah.
You have been used to that lifestyle. The last thing you want to do is get forced into retirement. Again, our pilots are not like some of our corporate executives or
right. There's a mandatory age, right?
You're done.
Yeah.
You're done. I mean, unless you want to go pick up some contract work or fly some private stuff afterward. I mean, I would not, attribute that to a successful transition into retirement unless it's really what you want to do.
Right. Sure.
But again, that's why we call it golden handcuffs. Like, I have to go do all this. I got to take these overtime trips. I got to do this because I'm funding all this other stuff.
Well, okay. So with that in mind, Scott, let's jump to how to reverse the problem if you feel like you are handcuffed, right? So a couple of bullet points here to reverse the issue.
I mean, the key thing is understanding where your cash flow is going. Look at your cash flow like a business owner.
So audit yourself, right?
I'm making $500,000 a year. Where's it going?
Right.
Where is it going? And you can use software to do this like so easily. Go get Mint or Monarch and you link your accounts in there, run a report for the last 12 months. It'll categorize it. Categories are probably not going to be perfect, but let's say they're 90% accurate. And you can say, we spent $78,000 on travel. Do we need to spend that much? we spent,
right.
$60,000 on a lake house that we only had time to go to once this year. Do we want to rent it out? Do we need to sell it? I have no excess cash right now. We spent $4,000 on credit card interest last year. Things of that nature where we can start to see and again, get a little bit of data. And I think that audit, again, if I'm a business making $500,000 a year, I should know how to be profitable. And that profit is what you're going to be able to pay extra debt off, take an extra vacation with, invest a little bit extra with. But if your expenses are $501,000 to your $500,000 income, you're a failing business. Okay.
Right.
So I think if you can have that mindset, it will really help, drive you to think, okay, how can I drive some profit in my business here? Right. And it's either going to come from increasing revenue, which means you're waiting on a pay raise or picking up overtime trips, or decreasing expenses. And more times than not, we definitely want to do an exercise to decrease expenses. And it creeps in every year.
It does. Yeah.
Every year it creeps in. There's a new subscription for this. We signed up for something. So you should be trying to cut expenses by 5 to 10% every year.
Well, and it's easy to, in those high income years, to make those emotional, positive, we're worth it. We've earned it, all that kind of stuff. Just keep some flexibility around your lifestyle. For sure.
Yeah. And again, we've talked about it before, margin. You want to have some margin for error, margin for things to go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, our airline folks, the airline industry and our pilots, everybody wants margin. The whole industry is built on margin. We do not want to red things at a red line. And if we're running our budget and our household income on the red line, it's just a disaster waiting to happen. It's stress we don't need. And so again, back to what we were talking about earlier with that mindset. Hey, we make too much money to do this or do that. I would say you do make too much money to worry about money. So it's a behavioral issue.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, if you're making 60 grand a year and you're side hustling jobs and you got 3 kids, that's stressful. But if you're making, multiple 6 figures, you're right. You do make too much money to worry about money, but it's not because that's not an entitlement to spend. It's an entitlement.
Right.
And it's a call to action
to
keep the budget in control and bring that financial piece to your household too. So.
Well, in an industry that is all about structure and checklists and, making sure you're dotting the I's and crossing the T's, right? Why wouldn't you do the same thing financially, right? Even if you are making a great living, have some structure, have some systems in place, right? Just to keep you in check.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and again, so many things change here. Like, again, this FedEx one's top of mind because they're going through this new temporary agreement. They're getting a huge pay raise. I mean, tentatively, I think last I checked, it was like 39%. Huge.
Wow.
The the mindset of, well, I can go increase my lifestyle by that much. It's like, well, what does that mean for taxes, other expenses, blah, 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 understanding the new contributions that are going to get pulled out. I mean, there's with these new contracts, you should be conscious of using those as an opportunity to, hey, how do I maybe without having to decrease my household budget, how do I at least maybe stay the same and then move the financial needle with this new contract?
Yeah, good point.
And drive, again, look at it like a business, drive increased profitability in my household just by doing no change versus like, cool, I finally got the raise I was looking for. Let's go get the boat, And I mean, it's, you want to celebrate the wins for sure, but, take a cold shower, look at the numbers, make a good decision.
Well, anybody who's ever owned a boat, you know the deal, right? So it's like I've definitely been there, done that, and it was like, well, this was great for about a week.
Hey, I got the boat, but I needed the trailer. And the truck's not big enough to haul the trailer. And, I hate keeping it in the driveway. So we might as well get a lake house to keep the boat at. And
yeah, it just turns into something. So,
yeah.
Well, at the end of the day,
that's all good, man. I mean, you want to work hard and you want to enjoy it and you want to do all those things. I mean, I'm all for it for sure. I mean, I'm here for it. We want to enjoy those things. That's what life's all about.
Well, just also remember there's no Brinks truck following the hearse. Right. Yeah. So you got to make sure you enjoy it while you're here, but you also want to leave some things behind to take care of the family and the loved ones. So again, structure, right? So, don't be trapped by the golden handcuffs. If you need some help, reach out to Scott, get some systems into place, get some structures into place. He's got a lot of tools and resources. Happy to send those out to you. You just got to request them, let him know you want some help. You can start with the toolkit. That's a great way to go. Get his toolkit underway. Molly will come on here in a second, tell you how to get a hold of that. Just go to the links on the website in the show descriptions down below. Just go to Retire Airlines and request one, or just get some time on a Scott's calendar and have a consultation and a conversation at retireairlines.com. That's retireairlines.com. And don't forget to subscribe to us on Apple, Spotify, and the YouTube. My friend, thanks for breaking it down, brother. I hope you have yourself a great week.
All right. You too. Looking forward to it.
We'll see you next time here on the Wealthy Pilots Podcast with Scott Osborn.
Hey, everyone. Real quick, if you haven't grabbed Scott's Financial Flight Control Toolkit yet, now is the time. This is packed with tons of helpful resources and tools like this, Scott's book, The Dichotomy of Wealth, which is a pilot's guide to maximizing wealth and cash flow in retirement. You also get access to some great guides like this one, Advice Matters, which breaks down 4 key ways a good financial advisor can help you boost your returns over time. And guides like this one on the pitfalls of emotions when it comes to investing, and this one on the HCM byline investment strategy, and more. So if you'd like your very own Financial Flight Control Toolkit, just click the link in today's show description, and Scott and the team will be happy to get one sent your way at absolutely no cost to you.
Information is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute tax, investment, or legal advice. Always consult with a qualified investment, legal, or tax professional before taking any action.